A pleasant good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media, members of the public. Welcome to the Leader of the Opposition's press conference. My name is Christopher Jones, thanking you for joining us today, Tuesday, the 7th of June, 2022. A statement will be read by Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Aubrey C. Norton, MP. Mr. Norton.
Good morning. Thank you, Chris. Our expectations under meaningful consultation. One of the most frequently used terms of the president is transformative. It is apparent that this term is hollow rather than hallowed in relation to the president's commitment to transformation and meaningful consultation. Guyana inherited from the Westminster system the institution of consultation as a tenet of governance that merely required compliance to form rather than any substantive impact on the decision-making process. This was changed in the constitutional reform process of 2001. In the constitutional reform process of 2001, Guyana touted transformation in the sphere of governance, and in that regard, sought to transform consultation into a substantive act. Hence, the Oversight Committee on Constitutional Reform recommended that constitutional provision be enhanced. It specifically recommended that, I quote, the National Assembly, in pursuit of the evolution of an inclusionary democracy, shall devise or cause to be devised an agreed approach developed jointly by government, the commissions established by law, community representatives, and representative non-governmental organizations, including political parties, that shall comprise a guide to a successful and effective consultation process. It was also recommended that this guide, and I quote, shall be monitored continually by the Parliamentary Standing Committee for Constitutional Reform with a view to assessing its effectiveness, unquote. The Parliament accepted the recommendation and legislated for meaningful consultation to mean I quote, identification of the entities to be consulted and specify to them in writing the subject of the consultations and an intended date for the decision on the subject of consultation. B, ensure that each person or entity to be consulted is afforded a reasonable opportunity to express a considered opinion on the subject of the consultation. And C, cause to be prepared and archived a written record of the consultation and circulate the decision to each of the persons or entities consulted, unquote. Rather than following the spirit and letter of the Constitution as outlined above, the President has sought to continue in the outdated Westminster tradition of form without substance, thus ignoring the reasonableness and cooperation that the process requires. It is against that background that I will insist that any further consultative engagement adheres to the spirit and letter of the Constitution, failing which I will only defer to the ruling of the courts in this matter. Leader of the Opposition informs President that he is in agreement that Justice Cummins Edwards and Justice George Wilshire be appointed. This morning, Mr. Roysdale Ford, Senior Counsel and Member of Parliament, representative of the Leader of the Opposition, informed Ms. Gail Teixeira, Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance, that in keeping with Article 127(1) of the Constitution, that the Leader of the Opposition is in agreement that Justice Yonit Cummins Edwards and Justice Roxanne George Wilshire be appointed Chancellor and Chief Justice, respectively. In this regard, the Leader of the Opposition has fulfilled his constitutional responsibility, since all that is needed is agreement. And I have agreed. PPP attempts to control the Local Government Commission will be blocked. Last Wednesday, June 1st, the PPP used its majority on the Local Government Commission to pass a motion to illegally empower its chairman and deputy chairman to make decisions as a two-man junta without the constitutionally mandated involvement of the entire body. This is another blatant attempt by the People's Progressive Party regime to roll back democracy and to impose a dictatorship. The Local Government Commission is a constitutional commission that was established, among other things, to deal with all matters relating to staffing of local government organs, and more broadly, to examine and propose ways of enhancing the capacity of these bodies. The 8 members of the commission are selected by the President, the Leader of the Opposition, after consultation with other parliamentary parties and the trade unions within the local government system. The motion seeks to establish a two-man so-called in-house executive management body, purportedly to, quoting the motion itself, I quote, ensure the efficient management of the activities of the various local government organs would not be constrained in any way based on the scale monthly statutory meetings of the commission to approve decisions which are required as matters of urgency. Guyanese must reject this devious and shameful motion on several grounds. First, it violates the basic principles of good governance. Second, it flies in the face of the Local Government Commission Act 2013 itself. Third, it exposes the ineptitude of the Local Government Commission chair and his deputy to implement basic administrative and management tools to address the purported inefficiencies. Last, and most pertinently, the motion is a brazen ploy to grab more political power by the PPP regime. The Local Government Act is abundantly clear that in every instance where it refers to the mandate, functions, and authority of the Commission, it always means the entire membership of the Local Government Commission or its quorum. Nowhere does the Act grant the Commission the powers to grant final decision-making or managerial authority to any subset of itself. Nowhere does the Act allow the creation of an executive committee to usurp the constitutional powers of the local government councils. Nowhere does the Act allow the local government council to become a mere rubber stamp. If indeed the Commission should wish to ensure efficient management, then it can make use of its power under Section 22(1) of the Local Government Commission Act of 2013, which reads, and I quote, "The Commission shall employ a secretary and other officers and employees as may be necessary for the efficient discharge of its functions," unquote. This section allows the Commission to employ, for example, investigators, legal officers, and administrators who can help the Commission perform its duties effectively. But obviously, the Local Government Commission chairman and the other PPP members on the Commission are more interested in micromanaging the Commission to achieve their partisan political objectives. Their claim that the aim is to ensure effective management is a smokescreen. We intend to take this matter to the courts. Meanwhile, we call on the chairman of the Local Government Commission to withdraw the illegal and disgraceful motion. Be aware, Guyanese have seen right through this motion. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aubrey Norton. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, you've heard this statement from the leader of the opposition. The floor is now open for questions. Please ensure you identify the media house you represent, and you can pose the questions. The monitor before me is not on, so the questions are at large. Please identify yourself and go ahead with your question, please. Please identify yourself and go ahead with your question.
My name is Adam Harris. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, you can still raise your voice a little.
All right. Adam Harris. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Sir, you talked about once more using...
I'm not hearing you. You need to raise... Go it again.
Once more using...
Yes, I'm now hearing you. Go again. Go it again.
More using...
Yes.
There is some background noise somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from. But anyhow, you're using Mr. Ford as your representative on this consultative meeting between you and the president. And you said you've again informed the government that you support the appointment of the Chancellor and the Chief Justice. You had done this before, or tried to do this before, and Mr. Shearer said that in his own good time the president will make that appointment. Are you trying to force the president's answer?
Well, first of all, you said, Mr. Shearer said that in the president's own time he will deal with it. I'm saving the president the trouble of having to ask for agreement. The Constitution says in 127.1 that he needs the agreement of the opposition. What I've done is to remove any barrier whatsoever. I've made it clear through the representative in this letter that I'm in agreement once it is the appointment of the Chancellor and the Chief Justice. There is no stumbling block left. Any decision not to appoint them will now rest squarely with the president, because I've publicly said, go ahead, and I've put in writing to him, I am in agreement with the appointment of Justices Cummins Edwards and George Wilshire. So the path is clear for their appointment.
Thank you very much.
Follow up, sir. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Follow up. Now, did you at any time during your brief meetings with the president actually raise this issue with him, or this is only at the formal level of the need for consultation?
You mean the question of their appointment?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I did. Well, not in the discussions. When the first letter was written to me, I respond saying that I thought it was of great importance that the CCJ was calling for it, that the people of Ghana were calling for it. And I said in that letter, I found it strange that it wasn't on the agenda, and placed it on the agenda. The president responded by saying he had the exclusive authority, and when he feels to engage, he will engage. My own view, based on my assessment of the people of Guyana, is that they want them appointed, and so I decided that I will put it in writing and close all options to suggest that I'm not prepared to. And so it is now out there, a formal letter stating that the president can go ahead. Removing him have to engage me to say I am appointing the two. He can just go ahead because the society seems to agree that the two learned women are equipped, they have served, they have ruled in different directions, so I don't think they can be accused of being partisan to one political party or the other. And so in the circumstance, it is my sincere view that they have what is required to be Chancellor and Chief Justice, and so I have cleared my element of the barriers so that the President alone is now left to act, having had my agreement.
Excellent. Any follow-up question to that, Adam? If not, the floor is still open. Please identify yourself and your media house that you represent.
Well, if nobody is ready, perhaps I can go on to... Must I keep the question limited to your opening statement, sir?
Well, it appears that there is no other question on the statement, so you can go ahead outside of the statement.
All right. The first question outside of the statement has to do with a brief encounter between the opposition leader and the president at the occasion in honor of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. I noticed there was a handshake, sir. How cordial was your meeting?
Let me explain what happened. I was in a corner speaking with someone, and out of the blues, the president turned up with a set of cameras. I wasn't even looking in his direction. And he turned to me, and apparently he had his hand outstretched. And he turned to me and asked me if I don't want to shake his hand, and I said no. He then proceeded to what I consider to be bully his way. And we end up shaking hands. But I want to make it clear that, first of all, I cannot treat this as business as usual. You have a situation in Guyana where the president continues to dismiss workers from all across the public sector. Recently, 2 GPL workers complained that they were arbitrarily dismissed. A lot of who have been dismissed are essentially Afro-Guyanese and Indo-Guyanese and Amerindians who they perceive to be the APNU AFC. We are seeing signs in Guyana, if not full-blown, that they are operating in a dictatorial way. There is clear evidence that there is discrimination and the exclusion of Guyanese who are entitled to benefit, like in the flood relief, etc. While this is occurring, there are high levels of corruption. Though the way is cleared for the appointment of the Procurement Commission, it is not being appointed. We saw the illegal appointment of a commissioner of police in total violation of the law. We are seeing the misuse of state resources for narrow partisan political ends. We are seeing, as all this is done, the PPP is prepared to go out there and lie, be dishonest about things. We have seen the removal of projects that will benefit APNU AFC constituency. For instance, the athletics track in Linden, where Lindeners are showing that they are in the forefront of athletic achievement, but you stop it. We had on the cards the road from Mobura to Linden. The government wasn't prepared to go ahead with it. My understanding, it is pressure from the diplomatic community that caused them to go ahead with it. We saw them remove from the budget the construction of the bridge across the Demerara River from Wismar to Mackenzie. I am not going to allow the president to use a handshake for propaganda purposes. If I am shaking the president's hands, it is assumed that there is some amount of cordiality and that the people of Guyana are being served in a non-partisan way. And so for me, it wasn't a question of just a handshake. It was an attempt by the People's Progressive Party's president to get a handshake and to throw it all around the globe as if everything is fine in Guyana between the government and the opposition and between the political parties. I signaled clearly that it cannot be business as usual. You cannot do the things you are doing to the people of Guyana and expect me to operate as if all is well. All isn't well. We have a government that is disrespectful and they have to be brought to book. And so my approach, while I saw one writer who is generally inconsistent saying that some nonsense, I am not prepared to be used to appear that all is well when all in Guyana, all of us know that all isn't well. The oil resources are not trickling down to the people of Guyana. It is the PPP elite, friends and family that are benefiting. The cost of living is going up and no proper measures are taken to deal with it. It cannot be business as usual. And my refusal to shake the hands of the president might not be conventional, but it is relevant to illustrate the reality of what the Guyanese people are facing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aubrey Norton. Is there a follow-up to that question, Mr. Harris, or any other member of the media?
No, I mean, I might as well enjoy myself if the rest of them backing up. The next question then I would want to ask has to do with a series of reports I've been seeing that the AFC or sections of the AFC want to remove themselves from the coalition. Has there been any approach in this area, sir? Opposition leader, sir?
All I would say to this is that one, no approach has been made. I continue to consult and work with the AFC. I've been in politics long enough to know that when an election in a party is occurring, all kind of views emerged. And I know the context in which this view emerged. I note that Mr. Patterson is running if the press reports are true. Mr. Kemrad Ramjitan is running if the press reports are true. I have a good relationship with them. None of them would have indicated to me that there is an intention to pull out of the coalition, and I will continue to operate in a way that suggests that the AFC is in the coalition, and until some official statement is made on that matter, I will operate as is. The APNU AFC coalition, one and the same in the coalition.
Any follow-up to that, Adam?
No, I just keep asking the questions until somebody comes in. This one is more or less directed to you, Mr. Jones. You moved to the courts to challenge the appointment of acting police commissioner Clifton Hicken. What is the state of that legal action?
All right, so the attorneys that is dealing with the matter, which includes Mr. Roysdale Ford, Senior Counsel, until last week, Friday, was a session in which an update was given. Mr. Ford will make a pronouncement on same, hopefully by a statement, if not tomorrow, might be on Thursday, to follow up on that. But that matter is before the court, as you rightfully mentioned.
Yes, and would you care to say who is representing Mr. Hicken at this action? Is it the Attorney General or?
Right, it would be the Office of the Attorney General.
And have they filed any, well, file what is required to challenge your move to the court, sir.
Right. Well, not to my knowledge, I haven't seen that. Adam?
Yeah, I got that. I mean, this is, well, Mr. Norton, you have been traveling around the country, and I have seen on social media some comments, criticisms that the party is a one-man show. Sir, have you been able to assign members of the party to various districts to have on-the-spot meetings? I know that wherever you go, you seem to have been followed by the PPP, but that's you. Are there other members of the party going around meeting with people in the various communities, sir?
Yes. In fact, let me say this. Only this morning I discussed with the PR people here the need to put out all the activities that we think should be out there. For instance, I can tell you, if you go to Facebook, you will see that our activists in the Rupununi were on an outreach and meeting people. Members of parliament are assigned specific areas and they have to work in those areas. One of the problems I think is that we are not putting all of that information out. You will begin to see more, but all members of parliament are assigned areas and are expected to work in those areas. In fact, at present work is being done to create a mechanism, a proper mechanism, by which we can assess what members of parliament and other members in the leadership of the party, what they are doing outside of what the leader is doing. For instance, I can say this to you. There were a number of activities on the East Bank. I think some of them were in the public domain where members of the AP and UAFC visited communities outside of the leader of the opposition. On the East Coast recently, the regional committee of the East Coast had their own outreach and they were meeting out to people. In Linden, I can tell you, they are having their own outreach and are meeting out to people. Some of that work is occurring in Region 2. In Region 1 at present, work is being done by party activists, etc. So clearly what is happening is there is a new life in the People's National Congress reform and more people are being involved and are meeting out and representing our people. Some of them, we take the information and bring to the press, and we will continue in that vein, and we will expand and ensure not only members of parliament and central executive members, but that in all communities, leaders are seen, respected, and represent the people. That is the ultimate objective.
Excellent. Adam, just before you come in, sorry, I have a question here from Davina Bagot from Kaicher News. I would like to know, how does the leader of the opposition feels about the renewed Lisa 1 permit and its questionable clauses such as assurance and not insurance and a meager US $5,000 extra on flaring?
I believe that, having looked at the information, there should be more action to ensure that there is a deterrent to flaring. I believe that the laws of Guyana provide for government to ensure that the people get the best they can. I am not convinced that this government is doing everything within the confines of the law to get the best out of the deal. But when you are a government that is compromised, you end up in that position. All
right, and of course, Davina Bagot had indicated that she's having problem with her audio, so she's sending the messages via WhatsApp. If there's any follow-up, Adam?
Well, not necessarily a follow-up. I got at least two other questions. One got to do with the relationship with Mr. Van Westchilds, your advisor. You had promised something on that, but we haven't heard anything.
Well, I didn't promise it publicly, but what had to be done in the party was done.
All right.
All right. And if I can go back to the questions from Davina Bagot from Kaiser News. She's asking now, Mr. Leader, I would like to hear from the Leader of the Opposition on the fact that the Chinese contractor has pulled out again from the Amila Falls project.
Look, the APNU AFC, you know, had discontinued this project. We were of the view that it is not a well-developed, well-conceptualized project, and so we never thought it will be useful to the people of Guyana. I don't know the specifics on why the Chinese would have pulled out, because the government tends not to be transparent. The second vice president will just come and give his view with no information that you could form an opinion on. But for us, it has always been misconceived, ill-conceived, and is a waste of taxpayers' money.
Excellent. And she's also adding that experts have been urging Guyana to invest in solar instead of this. They pointed to the fact that it's cheaper, and wants to know what is your position on seeing
the APNU AFC, while in government, and until now, and I think well articulated by the 10th Minister David Patterson, believes that there should be an approach that allows us to use all options, including solar, based on the specifics of the area. For instance, some areas, wind might be a good option because of the level of wind. Some areas, solar is a good option, or generally in all areas. And so we do believe that solar has potential, it is cheaper, and it should be utilized. But you have a government that is interested in getting its cronies rich off of oil and gas, and will not look at the options and arrive at the best for Guyana. What they do is choose that which is going to put more money in their cronies' pocket. And so their position is understandable but unacceptable. We believe that there are many areas that solar, wind, and other forms of energy, they are relevant, and therefore they should be utilized.
Got it. All right. We have a question from Mark Benchcop, 107.1 FM, and his question.
Hi, Chris.
Oh,
sorry about that.
Great. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm live. Thank you so much. Good afternoon to yourself and the leader. Quick question concerning the status of this report, allegations of Mr. Su against Mr. Barrett Jack there. It seems as though nothing has become of those serious allegations leveled against Barrett Jack there. Whether your party or you have done anything to find out what is the status of that. The other question has to do with this nonsensical report coming out of Robeson Ben's mouth about putting citizens on a watch list. Your position on that, sir. And my other question has to do with a report which suggests that you have no problem with the confirmations of both the acting chancellor and the acting chief justice. Have you met with either of the two, or and are you planning to meet with them if you haven't met with them, so that you can get more information to finalize whether they are indeed the suitable candidates for those positions?
Well,
thank you, sir.
Let me start with the last question first. I have no intention of meeting with them. I don't think it's the correct thing to do, since they are expected to operate as independent arbiters on matters involving government, political parties, etc. Now, as it relates to their abilities, we have seen them over the years. We know their qualifications. We know what to recommend them. They have ruled on many matters. And so, in my opinion, and in the opinion of the APNU AFC, and this I've spoken with Mr. Kemrad Ramjitan on, we accept that the people are capable, they have the requisite skills. If you were at the inception of the press conference, you would know that I dispatched a letter to the president saying we are in agreement. Now, remember, this is one of the legislation that doesn't speak to meaningful consultation. It speaks to agreement. The president and the opposition leader have got to agree. I have indicated that I agree based on the knowledge and all the information at my disposal, and that the president could go ahead and appoint the chancellor and the chief justice. The ball is now in his court. Now, citizen on the watch list. Once a society becomes autocratic, authoritarian, and dictatorial, they tend to have to restrict the movement of people and people's speech. What you're seeing is a manifestation of what the PPP is. It's a dictatorial regime that does not want to hear any views outside of their views. And you just have to listen to the second vice president speak to his own constituents, telling them, shut up, you don't read, you must listen. You will see that it is not an outfit that understands the need to be responsive to people's concern and to be guided by the views of the citizenry. It is a dictatorial outfit. And so it is understandable, it is clear that it is the nature of the regime that will cause them to go there. Of course, it has to be confronted and will be confronted. Ropes and bend is a tool of the repressive regime. That's the bottom line there. Now, as it relates to Sue and the investigation, I wouldn't say that we have launched an investigation. I live with the reality that a lot of times our capacity is restricted. You're dealing with a dictatorial government, and I think they would have already had Sue said what he would have said. I know that there are people who are doing some investigation, but I wouldn't say as a political outfit we have undertaken an investigation into these claims. Of course, we are waiting the report from the journalists to see what is happening. We had indicated that the police commissioner should investigate, but that the police commissioner himself is a tool of the government. Then we didn't anticipate an investigation coming. And so I would say that there are people who are investigating, there are individuals who are bringing information, but whether we have the capacity to do that kind of forensic type investigation, I am not so sure I can commit the party to doing that. And
if we may go back to Ms. Bagot of Kaitre News, she's following up on the Lisa 1 permit. Does the leader of the opposition feel that Guyana lost an opportunity to secure better terms for its people by renewing the license without pulling ExxonMobil to the table?
Well, I thought the government, look, the major claim was sanctity of contracts. And I've said before, as a political party, in waiting for government, we have to respect sanctity of contracts. But I am saying as well that the government had the opportunity, in keeping with the law, to revisit it and to get a better deal for the people of Guyana. I have no doubt that the failure to do that is clearly a case of the government's ineptitude, their incompetence, among other things. So I believe that the opportunity was provided, that it be done within the law, and the opportunity should have been taken. Unfortunately, the government didn't take it, and the Guyanese people will suffer because of government's inaction on a matter in which conditions conducive to dealing with the issue existed, but the government did not utilize it.
Excellent. All right. Mark, I still see your hands up. Do you have another question, or is it an old?
Yeah, sorry about that. It was up at a time that I didn't have another question, but now I do. And it pertains to Mr. Irfan Ali's reluctance to have the confirmation of both the Chancellor, the Acting Chancellor, and the Chief Justice. 1 year ago, or over 1 year ago, it was the same Mr. Ali who said that the then opposition leader was playing gymnastics with the confirmation of those two persons. Now everyone is seeing exactly where the gymnastic is coming from. Mr. Norton, under what condition would you be prepared to meet again with Irfan Ali, since the first meeting obviously was a photo op?
Like I've said, we will shortly challenge in court the decision with the Police Service Commission. I know long before this week is out, we should be in court. We believe that enough has emerged in the legal system to help us define meaningful consultation. And unless there is an attempt to ensure meaningful consultation, I will not engage. I will only engage if we clear the parameters of what constitutes meaningful consultation. The matter is going to go before the courts, and there will be an outcome. But for now, I am not prepared to let the president invite me. He sits there and give me some names with CVs and then go out and say he would have consulted. Like we pointed out, there were complaints year go, year come, while the people was in opposition on the Burnham, while we were in opposition in the Janet Jagan, Barry Jackdeo, Ramatar era. The PPP also, and if it's one thing they said at the time when I met them, was that Mr. Granger didn't give them the kind of an opportunity to meaningfully consult. My position on that is, okay, all of that is history. In 2001, we sat in a Constitutional Reform Commission, we agreed a way forward. Let us implement it and let there be meaningful consultation. We shifted from mere consultation to ensure that there is substance in consultation. And I am only prepared to consult meaningfully and not be used as a PR stunt to say, I consulted with the opposition leader. It has to be a consultation that allows us to scrutinize the candidate and to, in keeping with the law, give an informed opinion. That is my position on the issue.
Excellent. All right, is there any other question? If there's no other question at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank you very much for being part of the Leader of the Opposition's press conference. My name is Christopher Jones. On behalf of our technical team, we'd like to thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you again at another press conference hosted by the Leader of the Opposition. Thank you and goodbye.